This is Joe Bosso with MusicRadar, and I'm speaking with Jerry Cantrell from Alice in Chains. Jerry, how you doing?
I'm good, buddy. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Well, the new record is called Black Gives Way to Blue, and it's really, really stunning. A fantastic album in how long? 15 years? Something like that?
Yeah, well, we've it's been a long time for, obvious reasons, and, we've been doing shows for a couple of years, and, during that time we were doing those shows, we were, we'd come up with ideas and stuff, and it's really cool that we were able to come together with something that I think that's fitting of the legacy that we left before, and a good starting point again, to begin again. So
absolutely. From what I understand, the band came back together about the year 2005, and it was for a tsunami relief concert, and Sean, your drummer, called you up and kind of got the ball rolling. Is that right?
Yeah, that was something that, that's something that affected a lot of people, and we were really inspired by the outpouring of people that that were helping, and the kind of a mobilization worldwide of people that wanted to help, and we wanted to be a part of that. So, Sean put together that show, and he called Mike and I first, and we were all about it. It's just that's where it started. I mean, we didn't really have a plan to get the band back together. It's just we did that show, and that turned into some rehearsals and just hanging out more, and then a few shows happened, over a period of a year, and that turned into some tours, and now we're where we are today. It's kind of cool.
Still, though, if you can put into words what it was like to do that first show, I mean, did it feel like this weight of expectation, or did you kind of just go into it like, okay, we're just going to play a gig?
It wasn't intended to be an Alice in Chains reunion. It just happens to be that the three of us are in Alice in Chains.
Right.
So we were just part of a show, a group of great musicians, all playing our music and putting on a show to raise money to donate to the relief effort. So it was really fun. It was really great to be able to call so many of our friends and put them together in such a short period of time, and to be a part of that.
Now, you had already been working with William DuVall at that point, correct?
Yeah, I've known William since about 2000.
Because he was in your solo band.
Yeah, I met him in LA in about 2000. And he and his band, basically came aboard, and went out on the road with me for a while. We've been friends for a while, and we had the opportunity to play together before. So, I invited William down to rehearsal once we started kind of messing around a little bit, and we had a really good time together. And everything we've done up to that point has been pretty good.
Was there any kind of oh my God period where you went from playing with him to we're going to reform the band and you're going to be in it?
No, there's no oh my God moments. life has very few of those, actually. You just kind of do what feels right, and you build. You head in a direction. Maybe you don't even know you're heading in. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
A lot of little things kind of get put together, and then after a while, you kind of realize that you've kind of moved forward, a little bit, whether you intended to or not. And then, of course, you have to ask yourself if that's some place you want to go. And for all of us, obviously, the answer to that question was yes, because we continue to grow as a band and to move forward from a very, very difficult thing. But that's the cool thing about life. You're still as long as you're still walking around, there's plenty of opportunities to choose a new path, or choose an old one for that matter.
Now, you and William have this uncanny ability to sound very much like the classic Alice in Chains vocal harmonies that you and Layne Staley had. Was this something that was obvious to you pretty much right off the bat when you heard him? Like, oh my God, we kind of sound the same? Isn't that weird?
Well, the style is the same, and that goes to how I write, and how it goes to how the band sounds. The three of us the three of us have been in, Sean and I have started this band, so we've been in this band for 23 years. I think we ought to know how to sound like ourselves. We don't have to really try to do that. It's just a style that we developed over a period of time, and Layne was, of course, a big part of that. That's obviously the challenge. We're not going to just start sounding like somebody else, so, William's obviously a different individual than Layne, and, so having a talented guy like William that's willing to take the kind of comparisons that you or anybody else will throw at him, like that last question, and he's willing to kind of just be himself, and that's really the only way it would work. William doesn't really sound like Layne to me. He sounds like William. I know what Layne sounds like, and I know what William sounds like, and the two of us, the writing style and the sound of the band and the players are the reason why it sounds the way that it sounds. And although we lost a big part of our band, there's a big part of the band that's still around. You know what I mean? So you would think that we would know if we chose to go that way. It would have to honor that, and also would have to have a little room to kind of grow and become something new as well. So I think we've been able to do both of those things.
Now, you pretty much are the co-vocalist in the band. You sing a lot of songs.
I always have.
Yes, and from what I understand, Layne always kind of encouraged that. He pushed you to sing. So very much in a Beatles kind of way. I mean, you guys always kind of struck me as like a Lennon and McCartney. There was no one lead singer per se.
Yeah, well, that's that's a really great thing to use those two guys as an example, and of course a band that has inspired so many musicians and continues to, and I always really admired that about them, and many other bands who not only had a really great vocalist, but maybe two, and the way that they worked together, and it always was always amazed by the depth of bands that can do that, and the cool thing is that you may have two guys that can kind of be individuals. You kind of the combination of the two kind of make one, and I always really liked that about our band too. And obviously, if we were going to continue, that's kind of it's kind of interwoven in the blueprint. That's just the way it is. So that was something that we're going to have to address. We would have to find somebody that could operate within the system that way, and yet bring whatever they bring to the table. And that person ended up being William, and that was really without looking around or having auditions or having contests or whatever.
I imagine you had so many people.
Really talented friend of ours, and it just kind of luckily fell together. That's kind of how the band started originally. In a similar fashion. Just some guys that liked hanging out with each other and started playing and started making noise, and we're able to have been able to have gone through that process twice in the same band.
Before we get more into the new record, I want to ask you, what is your fondest memory of Layne?
I don't really have a fondest memory. I think there's so many of them. I spent a good portion of my life with him, and he was our best friend and our brother and collaborator, and there's just too many to pull one out as a best of. And the whole thing was good. Even the tough stuff. Life's not always good. Life's not always good. And but even some of the parts that aren't so good are important parts of a life. You know what I mean? So just feel very, very lucky to have known him, and to have known him as well as I did.
The lyrics on this new record are deeply personal. Do you carry a journal around with you? Do you keep a diary? Because I just can't imagine you sitting in the studio and coming up with these lyrics just on the spot.
Yeah. Well, Alice has always been a band that has kind of spoken from very personal experiences, and I think that in general you can probably say that about any musician. You know what I mean? That's really what works best is your personal perspective, and not only trying to create something that means something to you, but translates to somebody else. And that's not necessarily so tough because we're not very different as human beings. We all go through pretty similar events in life, and although we may take different paths and get to certain things at different times, it's a common experience. So trying to wind that all together, and first off, you have to write something that's important to you and that you dig, and then it's, of course, always satisfying when other people connect with it too and kind of make it their own. And there have been a whole real big as a real big journaler, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, I go through pretty intense writing phases when I do, and that's pretty much all I do, you know, while that's going on. And we started recording, you know, I mean, we finished the record last March and started the record like the September before that. So, and the writing period for that was probably about another 5 or 6 months before that. So, you know, it was a good solid 4 or 5 months of writing, you know, and pretty much dedicate yourself to that. You know, I guess I kind of do that sort of a thing in those writing phases, you know.
Let me ask you about your guitar playing, and because your soloing is so fluid on this record, do you practice? Do you have a routine, or do you just kind of play to see what will happen?
I think pretty much, you know, you just kind of make it up as you go along. I have learned a few things here and there, and have sought some things out early on, but most of it's just kind of by playing and trial and error and trying things out. You know, fortunately, you know, we've been able to create, you know, a signature sound between all of us that people recognize. It's kind of become our own. It's our unique voice. You know, it's our musical fingerprint, if you will, and you know that comes from all the individuals. Playing guitar for me has always just been kind of just doing it. You know,
right?
I don't really read music. I don't write music. I mean, as far as like writing stuff out on notes and shit like that, it's just by ear and trying things out.
Right. So you're not one of those guys like, okay, I will practice 2 hours a day on Mixolydian scales and all that kind of thing.
I never have been, and I kind of always wish a little bit that I knew a little bit more about what I do. But and I think once in a while that maybe okay, you know, I need to learn some new shit, you know. And but you know, then that thought goes away, and we're already doing something anyway. So I think the key is just I play a lot. I get to play with the guys that got a lot, and you know, of course, you warm up every day before the shows and stuff. And at home, you know, you get the bug, you're kind of bored, or you hear a riff and you throw it down. So you know, playing is always a part of life. It's not. I don't really have a regimen, I guess. You know, I don't have like okay, I got to do 2 hours of scales today, and then I'm gonna track some shit later on, you know, after dinner. I don't really have a schedule.
Yeah.
That's also another kind of appealing thing about doing what I do for a living. There isn't a whole lot of structure to it. You know,
but
that's kind of appealing to me, you know.
But do you stockpile riffs?
Of course.
Because there's one in particular, the first one, All Secrets Known, which is just such a darn cool riff, very Black Sabbath-like. Did you come up with that and immediately know that's a song?
You know, sometimes you'll get a winner, you know, where you'll get an idea and you'll complete it to the end. But more often than not, for me, it is about stockpiling ideas. You know, it's about working on a part, a riff with a vocal idea, and you know, taking it as far as you can at the moment, and maybe screwing around with it for a couple of days, and if nothing else happens, then you just kind of put it down, so it's always there. You know what I mean? And you can go back to it and put something else to it, and I think that's definitely a big part of how I write songs is actually when at least when I think something is worth remembering, I'll put it down. And you know, sometimes things aren't. Like, you know, you'll listen back to something like, oh, that was terrible. What was I thinking that day? You know, and then more often than not, you'll go through these things and you'll forget stuff. I'm like, wow, that's cool. That's really cool too. And then you know, after kind of putting ideas in the bank, so to speak, you know, you can kind of go back to that account and kind of draw them out, you know, at a later time, or maybe when you have maybe at a later time you have a better idea about how to complete it, you know, or you've come up with something new that fits with it, you know, or whatever.
Yeah. So are you still pinching yourself that Sir Elton John has played on your record?
Yeah, that's you know, it's one of those really cool things that you know, you never really expect to happen. To have somebody that, you know, that we all admire so much, and also, you know, was such a early part of our inspiration to music before we even really were players. You know, I mean, everybody. You know, I think Elton was like Layne's first concert. You know, and it was the first record I ever got was an Elton John record. And Sean Same and William and Mike. I mean, he affected us all that way, and it's you know, a big part of he was an artist that really struck us at a young age, among a lot of other guys, and so he's there. So to have a guy that means that much to you and that you admire and you think about a part, that would be, something that you might want to have him play on, and to have him do it is it's pretty mind-blowing, and one of those really cool things, that you really can't plan for, and also you never know unless you ask, so we were kind of like, when the idea came up to give him a call about that song, we kind of all had a laugh about it, because we're like, yeah, I'm sure he's got better things to do than come play piano on a track of ours, but and then somebody piped up and said, well, you never know unless you ask, and I'm like, that's absolutely right. So I sent him an email and explained the significance of that song, and that it was going to be the title track, and then it was for Layne, and all of that, and that all appealed to him, and he loved the song, and said he wanted to play on it. So
now, when you're in the studio with Elton John, and he's playing piano on one of your songs, and he plays on the title track, Black Gives Way to Blue, so he's in there and he's playing. Do you actually give direction to Elton John, or is it
Sure.
just you do?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it doesn't. You might not necessarily feel comfortable to do so. It's like, what are you gonna tell that dude? But he was really cool. He was like, what do you want? I'll do. I was gonna do a pass that's a little more kind of notey, and then I'll do one that's a little more chord oriented, and it's a song that we know intimately because we wrote it, you know what I mean, and we're familiar with it, and even though he's heard it before, playing the song is new to him, you know what I mean, so of course he would ask for a little direction here or there, and I mean, it's, as a fan, it's hard to separate, the two, you're both musicians, and so there's that, and being able to direct somebody in that setting is totally cool, it's pretty normal and something you're used to, but when it's somebody of such importance to you, it's a little nerve-wracking to go like,
yeah,
here, try it like this, or try it like that. But he was way cool about it, and he brought himself to the thing that I was most impressed, I guess, with is how excited he is just about music still, you know, not just his own. He's just a fan, and you realize you're just the same. You're just a fan of music, and so it's really cool to see that it's that important to him. And it just gives you more inspiration to continue your own journey, and hope that you still feel the way that he feels about it, at this point of his career,
Well, it's a beautiful track, and what's amazing is, it sounds like Alice in Chains, but yet at the same time you listen to it, and the piano sounds like Elton John. I mean, he just...
Sure. Well, I mean, that's a really impressive thing, that he obviously has a sound and a style that he's developed, and that he's known for, and not only did he lend himself, lend his voice, and made the song, jump up a level, by his input. He didn't take it over either.
Right.
He became part of the band for that song, and that's also very impressive that he would do that,
Well, you made a wonderful record. It's
Thank you.
It's really fantastic. This is Joe Bosso with MusicRadar, and I've been speaking with Jerry Cantrell from Alice in Chains. Jerry, thank you very much for spending this time with me.
No problem, man.
You take care.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Have a good one. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.